then Instagram will go shortly after. Post up the link real quick.
I'm afraid to touch any buttons on this thing. I don't know if I want to boot myself or not.
All right. Just throw it on my story real quick.
Perfect.
All right. There we go. That's done. Pull my window back up here. All right, guys. Hello and welcome back to the 12th episode of the Veganless podcast. I'm Daniel, and today we have Vince. I'll let you introduce yourself.
So what's up, guys? Vince Meza with Meza Outdoorsman. Excited to get on here with Daniel. We've been exchanging messages back and forth for a little bit now, so it's finally good to finally be able to lock a date down, you know?
Right. We both had some stuff pop up last week, so we couldn't make it happen, but here we are, here and ready to kick it off. So as everyone that's seen the podcast and watches knows, we always like to start off with what would be a piece of advice you would give to new hunters?
Piece of advice I would give to new hunters would be, spending time in the field is everything. I mean, you're not going to be successful every time you go out, but you're going to learn something for sure. And it's just going to make you that much better of a hunter as you go along. I mean, I've been hunting since I was probably 5 years old with my dad, and I'm still learning something new. Every year I'm learning something new. So my biggest advice was just spend time in the field. You're not going to be successful every time, but the success is going to be learning something and becoming a better hunter and learning the animals and the way they act in the habitats that they, thrive in. So that's the biggest thing I would say.
Yep, absolutely. I too have been hunting since, I was a little guy, tagging along with like my stepdad, family, whomever else. And I couldn't agree anymore. Just get out there and try to absorb everything that you can. Like, it's not a failure until you quit, right? Like,
Exactly.
it's a learning experience. You just keep compiling knowledge. You learn what not to do, what to do, so on and so forth.
It's crazy how you learn from those failures, though, man. I'll tell you
You
what.
learn more from them than anything else.
Oh my gosh. I've had so many, hiccups in the field where I'm like, dang, you go back and you sit and you're like, man, I should have done this instead of this. But in the moment, you're trying to just go off instinct, right? So
Instinct,
sometimes,
whatever information you have on hand, and you have to make the best call with the knowledge you have. And doing that over and over and over again, you certainly build up more knowledge. So
yeah. I'd say one tough thing though is like if you're hunting with somebody, you're like, hey, should I do this or should I do that? And you do what they say, and like, in your gut, you're like, oh, I should be, going this way instead of that way. But it's all part of the game. It's all part of the game.
Yep. And then you have the two minds, they're clapping together, and then you're both like second guessing yourself. So it's just a vicious cycle. Like, the longer you dwell on it, the more you're going to overthink it. And it's like, you just got to do. Because there's so many times that my buddy and I would choose to like hunt a different spot. It'd be like, my gut told me to hunt here, but like, we're going to go try this out. And then we would kind of have visibility of that spot, and we'd just see a bunch of deer out there. It's like, well, every single time. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I question that spot. Like, but yeah, over and over again.
I have a funny story about that. So we go and hunt Missouri. We've been hunting there for the last few years, and our buddy that it's his farm, and he's like, hey, the night before he goes, Vince, if I were you, I'd be sitting in that fourth gap tree stand tomorrow. What did I do? I didn't sit the fourth gap
Didn't.
tree stand. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go all the way back to the pasture, and we have cell cams out there, and it
Hmm.
goes off, and there goes that buck that we were after right by the fourth gap.
Always, never
So,
fails.
and it's just like, you're already getting up in the tree, and then you look at your phone, you're like, oh my gosh, I should have been over there. But being West Coast guys, we're like, we're just gonna get down out of the tree and see if we can go after
Yeah. Man, that sounds boring. We're gonna go
him.
spot and stalk. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep. And it was crazy. I actually ended up shooting another buck from the ground. It wasn't the same buck we were after, but
Hmm.
went to that same area, and it was early no or mid-November, early November, so they were kind of
Hmm.
rutting a little bit. And sure as hell, here comes a few does running out of the corn, and then
Hmm.
a couple bucks right behind them. So sometimes you get lucky.
Hmm. What side of Missouri you hunt?
We hunt outside of Center, Missouri. So I believe
Okay.
that's. I'm not too exactly. Let's see. Let's check the map here. I'll tell you where that is. But yeah, we hunt. We fly into what is that? St. Louis.
Yep, St. Louis.
And then it's about an hour drive from St. Louis, and
Hmm.
my dad's buddy's farm is over there. It's a military buddy of my dad's that
Okay.
we've been going back over there for a little while.
Nice. Do you do any
Yes.
other like out of state hunts? Like, I guess just
Yeah.
fill us in on what your normal year is.
So normally, California guy, we
Hmm.
hunt on the coast of California. So our season starts probably one of the earliest deer seasons in the United States. I'd say it's the second Saturday of July.
Oh,
So
that's
usually,
crazy.
yeah. So we're hunting in the summer. Bucks are in velvet.
Hmm.
Um, so that season goes for about a month or so, and then the
Hmm.
second Saturday of what is that? June, July, August. So second Saturday, August, our rifle season opens up and goes till about the end of September.
Hmm.
So during that time, we're hitting it pretty hard. Where we hunt is pretty close to our house. It's about 30 minutes. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a pretty big area we hunt. So the furthest north we go is probably like an hour on that ranch, and then south is about an hour. So it's all pretty close to us.
Hmm.
But that's our A zone season. That's what we hunt is California A zone, and it's a debate whether they're blacktail or California mule
Hmm.
deer, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I
Right.
think where we hunt, um, back in the day, they released some of the herd from the Kaibab onto this place. So there is a little bit of mule deer out there. So
Hmm.
that does make some sense. But they usually say like check the tail of the deer, and
Hmm.
it'll you'll be able to tell whether it's a mule deer or a blacktail. So I actually posted something on my YouTube page and my Instagram page, like asking people like,
Hmm.
what do they think of this deer? Is it a
Yeah.
blacktail or is it a
What do you
mule
think
deer?
it is? Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, that's a blacktail. Then somebody's like, no, that's a mule deer
Hmm.
because you're this part of the California. So, but yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
neat. I've never looked into California hunting. I didn't realize it was that early. That's kind of cool.
hmm it's nice and it's over the counter too. So,
Hmm.
like a lot of guys um, have an opportunity to do an over the
Hmm.
counter hunt. It probably is pretty expensive as a non-resident, which
Yeah,
everything in
probably.
California is
Hmm.
expensive anyway. So, but we're pretty lucky. I mean, our deer tags are, I think it's like $46, something like
Hmm.
that. It's probably a lot more expensive than back east or in the Midwest, but definitely a lot of opportunity. And it just hunting out west over here, all it comes down to is spending time in the field. I
Hmm.
mean, like I was saying earlier, I mean, I haven't shot a buck with my bow in probably 10 years, but I
Hmm.
spend all the time out there. But I'm also pretty selective, trying to make sure I shoot
Hmm.
something, good. I hunt enough to where I can put the time in, I have cams out and all that.
Hmm.
We're running them year round. So I'm after, when I get a buck on cam, I'm like, okay, that's the buck I want. And trust me,
Right.
I've had little forking horns or 14, 15-inch forking horns,
Uh-huh.
15 yards, 10 yards from me, and it's like you draw back on them, you're like, okay, you know what? No, I can't do this, and you just let
No,
down,
can't do it.
hmm
What kind of terrain are you hunting out there? Like,
So it's pretty crazy, man. I mean, we could be hunting like rolling oaks to
hmm,
sand dunes to real steep mountainy looking stuff, and I
it's
mean, we're
crazy.
hunting probably, I mean, I've shot pigs, or I shot a pig probably 100 yards from the
Hmm.
ocean. And I think I sent you a picture of another pig that I shot, and that was
Yes,
probably,
you did.
a mile from the ocean. In the background, you have the
Hmm.
sunset and the Pacific
Hmm.
Ocean right there.
Yeah,
So,
it's
I mean,
crazy.
you get a wide variety of terrains
Hmm.
to hunt out here. But
Yeah,
other than
that's
California,
vastly different.
hmm other than California, right after that, we usually do Arizona.
Hmm.
Um, I shot a Coues deer last year in like October, so their Coues
Hmm.
deer season's like October, November, and then we do Missouri also. That's
Hmm.
like middle of November, and then if we get a chance to, we roll right back to Arizona in December for the over the
Hmm.
counter. So we stay pretty active, that's for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I just looked it up out of curiosity. Non-resident first deer tag, $343.
Ooh, and that's just a deer tag, not even the license.
Yeah, I think the license said non-resident hunting license, $205.
So you're 500 bones into that if you want to
Right,
come out
plus
this way,
travel. Right.
plus travel. So I mean,
Yep.
yeah, it gets pretty steep. I mean, we go to Missouri, and I believe the license and the tags all in's like $300.
And say Missouri is not too steep. I thought
Mm-hmm.
about getting one this last season because I'm in Iowa. I literally hunt probably 20 minutes from northern Missouri, so
Nice.
pretty
Yeah,
close.
actually,
It'd be easy to just
I
hop over and
I've hunted Iowa before.
yeah.
My mom used to live there for a little
Hmm.
bit, and she lived in Lansing, Iowa. I don't know if you're familiar. It's kind of on that corner
Mm.
next to Wisconsin, Minnesota. There's like the
Okay.
3 points right
Yeah.
there. So I guess that would be like what, northeast,
Hmm.
right along the Mississippi. So there's
Hmm.
some big
There's some
bucks out
beautiful
there.
terrain up there.
But the Iowa bucks. Oh my gosh, man, they are huge.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got, I mean, we have so much ag and
hmm
cover and all that. So, like forest, corn, beans, all that. So,
them corn fed deer, man. I'm
hmm,
telling you,
yep. We fatten them up here.
they sure do taste good, though. I'll tell you what.
Absolutely.
hmm
Absolutely. So, what would you say some of your favorite hunting stories are? I love just BSing and listening to some good old hunting stories, whether they be fails or success or anywhere in
Well,
between.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the hunting stories, some of the good ones, I guess, they wouldn't even be harvesting an animal.
Yeah,
I
that's
hunt with,
that's how it goes.
I mean, I hunt with my dad and my
Hmm.
cousin, but I mainly hunt with my dad. That's my ride or die right there. So,
Hmm.
I mean, just being able to spend time with him, we're going out there and shooting the shit and just acting
Hmm.
like idiots. I mean, we don't get a lot of that on camera. We probably should, but
Right. That'd probably get the
some
views.
but we try and be a little bit more serious. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's all fun. But I would say, like, if I were to say like one hunt that was really special to me
Hmm.
was New Mexico 2020 with my dad. Just got out of college. Finally had some money to be able to afford to
Hmm.
go somewhere and hunt, right? And it was the first time I hunted out of state, and my dad hunted out of state, and he shot a buck on the opening day evening of the hunt,
Hmm.
and we were stoked. I mean,
Right.
it was like, this is what we've dreamed about.
Hmm.
And he wasn't even like super crazy like stoked about it, but I mean,
Hmm.
he's not a super emotional guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was during COVID, so we were in New Mexico, and it was a 5 day hunt, and we're like, okay, everything's shutting down here. We're just gonna hunt one more day, and it was like a Tuesday, and get out there, just walking up to this hill we've been going to every single day, where we've been seeing some deer, and I glass up a buck. He was about 300 yards away. I was like, all right, this is probably the only chance I'm gonna have. We're leaving tomorrow morning, anyways. I get up, smoke this thing, and I turn around, and my dad is just like way more excited than I was, and
Hmm.
getting like emotional. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh my, like that hunt just really hit me so deep. And he was just like, this is what he dreamed of, being able to go
Right.
out on a trip like
With
this with
his
me.
kid.
yeah, and be
Mhm.
successful. And he was more excited for me shooting my buck than he was
Mhm.
shooting his buck. And he was getting a little emotional. And we hugged it out, love you, type thing.
Mhm.
And walking over to the buck, it was just, I don't know, man. It was, you can't even explain it in words,
Mm-mm.
how crazy it
Mm-mm.
is when something finally comes together like that.
Mhm.
We've been talking about it for years, and then it finally
Mhm.
happens.
Yep. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's crazy. It's like social media, you just see the outcome of it, but just everything in between, like start to end, all of the, roadblocks, problems,
Hmm.
and then navigating, going somewhere completely new and trying to locate and figure stuff out. Like when you
Hmm.
guys do these out of state, I know Missouri, you said you guys have a buddy that has a farm, but are you mainly like DIY everywhere or?
Yeah, so that was a DIY hunt. We had a guy who hunted that area, but in a different
Mhm.
spot, and he was hunting coos deer though. And so he's like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure there's mule deer in this area. If you guys want to go hunt it," so we're like, "All right, we'll just
Mhm.
put in for it." And we went about 3 days before the season started, we went earlier,
Mhm.
and scouted that area and didn't see a single mule deer. All we saw was coos deer.
Oh no.
And then we're like, "Oh gosh, we're gonna have to, do something else." And
Mhm.
going on Go Hunt and looking on the comments in the forum and messaged a couple of people like, "Hey, this is where we're at. Um, what do you guys think of some of these spots?" And some of these guys, kind of point you in the same direction that you were
Mhm.
already in.
Yeah.
And then it's a crazy story, actually. I saw this guy's number with the same area code where I live on
Mhm.
that forum. And so I texted him. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm heading out here right now." And he's like, "Oh, we're in Arizona heading out there too." And he basically just dropped me a pin like where they were camping. And we
Mhm.
just met him up there, talked to him, and they're like, "Oh, we're just going to be hunting this area." And we just basically divided and conquered. And
Mhm.
they ended up shooting a pretty nice buck. And then we ended up shooting 2 bucks that trip. So it was good.
It's pretty crazy how, forums and all that stuff can really
Hmm.
connect people. Like pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a small world.
Oh,
So
it really is.
that's for sure, and everybody's in reach at the
Mhm.
fingertips. But
Need more of
yeah,
that instead of everyone tearing each other down.
yeah, there's too much of that. That's a
Mhm.
whole nother topic in itself.
Right.
Where where I'm at, the hunting community is pretty close. Everybody knows everybody.
Mhm.
So I mean, you hear all the gossip and
Mhm.
everything, and we get a lot of heat sometimes.
Mhm.
Guys like, "Oh, they're always shooting bucks. They're always killing something.
Mhm.
All they do is hunt." Well, yeah, you're gonna kill some. You're gonna do some killing. Shooting some deer if you're out there in the field all the time, right?
You putting in the work, yeah. You would hope.
So I mean, if you don't have haters, you're probably not doing something right, anyways, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've got
Hmm.
our share of those too.
Hmm. And nobody wants to see anybody doing better than them. So
No.
that's just
Nope.
the
Nope.
bad reality of it all.
It is, but I mean, just kind of use it as fuel, and
Hmm.
push
For
harder.
sure. Hmm.
So, how long have you been doing your channel and everything?
I believe we started. It was 2022 is when we first started putting out
Mhm.
videos. So 2022 is when I filmed all of 2021,
Mhm.
and then I was just like finally like, okay, I should probably sit down and start chopping these
Yeah,
videos up,
start
and
editing some of this.
because
Yeah.
it takes some time, and you
Mhm.
don't want to put out something that's just
Mhm.
spewage, just
Right.
for everybody. So I have a buddy who does marketing, and he does
Mhm.
videography or whatever you want to call it, and he showed me the way through like Final Cut and how to do this
Mhm.
and that. Give me probably like a 2 hour crash course, and from there
Right.
I just been cutting and doing it my own.
There you
So
go. How often do you try putting videos out? Is it mainly during hunting season, or are you throwing in some content in the off season too?
I'm usually putting out like a reel or a short
Mhm.
every day. I've been doing that for a couple months now, every day,
Mhm.
just trying to keep some traction, and
Yep.
then uh, I'll film us shooting,
Mhm.
practicing. We have a 3D shoot coming up that we're doing down south from us. So
Mhm.
I'm practicing for that. Make sure the sight tape's all dialed in because I'm sure there's going to be some crazy shots over there. Some long
Right.
range stuff. So I want to make sure I'm not blowing up arrows and losing arrows. So
Mhm.
I think I put a video out like a month ago. Um, I try to mainly put out, hunts. I hunt a lot,
Hmm.
so a lot of
Yeah,
pigs.
relatives.
Yeah, pig season's year round in
Hmm.
California, so plenty of opportunity. It's just a matter of, you know, being successful, and
Hmm.
I put more successful hunts out than I do just like us going
Yeah.
out there seeing animals.
Hmm.
That doesn't seem to get a whole lot of views. So,
Yeah, I think it's important to show like some of the failures and stuff because everyone's used to seeing nothing but, the success and big stories or whatever, but it's like a fine line of you
mhm.
doing that and like crippling yourself because,
Yeah.
that video tanks and so
Hmm.
on, so it's a fine line.
I think it was last year I did like a opening weekend archery vlog for
Hmm.
A Zone, and surprisingly, that video got like 2,000 views.
Hmm.
And then I did one like shortly after that during the or like a month later during the rifle season. It got like
Hmm.
500 views. So maybe it's just the archery versus the rifle. People would rather see the
Yeah.
vlogging on that than this. But you know, like you're saying, there is a fine line between
Hmm.
just putting something out. But you can learn a lot on those those
Oh,
trips
absolutely.
that you don't get
It's
an
just
animal.
trying to figure out how to put it into like articulate it into something that's still viewable and
Hmm.
keeps attention is one thing.
Yeah. So I thought about something that would be along those lines would be
Hmm.
maybe us going over how we set up a trail cam or why we
Hmm.
put a trail camera here
Yeah,
or
just
why
some
we're moving
walkthrough
this
and
one.
stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. So we'll
Yeah,
probably have some of that coming down the pipe.
there's such a wide range of like skill sets. People just beginning, people that have
Hmm.
been doing it forever, and everywhere in between. So, I mean, regardless of kind of where you're at in that level, there's still people that you could teach to. So,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
one
for
thing I'm
sure.
trying to do too is put together some how-to content and
Hmm.
everything. Speaking of the man, the myth, the legend, Boutique says, "My boy Vince."
Yes, sir. That's my guy right there, man. He's dialed
Hmm.
me in. I got the freshest wraps on the West Coast, boy.
There we go. We got some of them in the Midwest here too.
He does not mess around. That guy is. I basically gave him an idea. I said, "Hey,
Hmm.
I want something like this," and he's like, "All right, let me work something up." About an hour later, he sent it over to me. I was like, "Yep, that's exactly what I'm picturing."
Hmm. Right. Yeah. He's good at what he does for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
So,
what would you say your guys' off season looks like? I know you mentioned that you guys will do some archery shoots and stuff, but to kind of like a outside or maybe even a new hunter, like how do you use your off season to be productive for your main season, especially with traveling to multiple places?
so like my old man, he shoots his bow pretty much every day. Where he works, he has an archery range, probably 15 minutes from his shop. So for his PT or physical training, he goes for about an hour and goes and shoots his bow. So I'd say the biggest thing, especially with archery, is you have to shoot quite a bit. You know, um, I always relate it to, especially guys my age, they're either getting into golf or they're getting into archery. Both are pretty expensive. Whichever way you look at them, I think archery's a little bit cheaper just because you don't got to pay for the rounds of golf.
Yeah, it just
Or
depends
you don't
how
have to
deep
pay
you
for
want
the
to
shoot.
go. Yeah.
Hmm. So I'd say shooting year round is pretty important, especially if you're an archer, and you want to be successful with the bow. Um, as far as rifle, I probably shoot the rifle once a month or so, just because I reload and finding powder and primers and all that stuff's
Yeah,
hard.
reload's still not cheap.
So I don't want to be blowing out all my rounds, and then season rolls
Hmm.
around and I got 20 in the case, and I'm like, okay, I got to
Yep.
make these last the whole season.
And I need to check my scope and everything, make sure it all dialed
Mhm.
in. Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah, usually before I take off on a big hunt, I make sure I'm dialed in from pretty much 100 to about 800 yards, just to make sure that I can,
Yeah, what rifle do you use?
I shoot a SIG Sauer. It's a
Hmm.
SHR 970. It's an older model
Hmm.
rifle, but that thing is a tack driver, man. I've shot. Uh, my dad shot his New Mexico buck with my rifle at 500 yards. Dropped him. Um, this last year, I shot my Coos deer at 525, and he basically just piled up. I've shot pigs at 3, 4, 500 yards too. So you know, just being confident in your rifle is huge too,
Hmm.
man. Like knowing your dope on it and your ballistics. Trust me, I've been down that road where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna punch in. The box says
Hmm.
3,000 feet per second. Okay, the calculator says I just got to go to 10 MOA for this. That is not the case. You want to make sure you go out there and shoot, 2, 3, 4, 500, 600 yards and make
Hmm.
sure that that MOA is
Yep.
exactly right. Because I've missed a big buck just trying to do that.
Hmm.
I mean, a monster buck that it haunts me to this day
Oh
because
no.
now I know what that rifle does, and
Hmm.
I took a shot at him at about it was probably 515, 510,
Hmm.
and no dust, nothing. These rounds
Oh
were
no.
just sailing over him. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to the range, going to this long range setup
Hmm.
that I have, going out there, and I'm going to do exactly what I did shooting at that deer. And I was probably 2 feet high, and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, that's not going to work.
No,
So
not
we
acceptable.
redialed it in all over again, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, that was going to be my next question actually is what do you zero at out there?
I zero at 200 because it
Hmm.
seems like a lot of the shots are about 200 yards.
Hmm.
Um, if you can get closer, I always say get closer. But
Yeah, absolutely.
a lot of this country's so big, thick, and open
Hmm.
to where you're gonna have to send a cross canyon shot a lot of the times.
Hmm.
So if you're not prepared for that, don't even try and send those shots.
Hmm.
But if you're confident in your load, your rifle, and everything, and you shot those distances and confirmed that dope, I'd say go for it.
Hmm. For sure. Aside from practicing, what else do you kind of do in the off season? You mentioned that you have cams going year round. Are you doing any scouting,
Mm-hmm.
e-scouting? Like what's the regimen?
Yeah, so we're like I said, we run cameras year round, so we've been checking cameras, moving cameras around, and we start scouting because the bucks, they're velvet, they're in velvet right now, and their
Hmm.
horns are just coming in, so it's kind of hard to tell what they are.
Hmm.
You can tell if it's going to be a
You can kind of tell
good
the
one.
mass a little bit sometimes, but
Mass,
yeah.
body. I think
Hmm.
body is a really good indication of a
Absolutely.
mature deer. Looking for that saggy chest, and that saggy
Hmm.
back, big old barrel on them. So that's a lot of what we're doing right now. We don't really start scouting like we're hitting the hills early morning till probably June,
Hmm.
late May, early June, because then
Hmm.
their horns are finally coming in to where okay, we could tell like that's going to be a good buck.
Hmm.
And I mean, with running trail cameras and scouting, it really does help you know where to put your time when you're in the field.
Hmm.
Because I mean, you can do no scouting and go to the same spot over and over, and maybe you'll see a buck
Hmm.
here, and but hey, you might get lucky and see a bomber buck that because that happens all the time too, right?
Right.
I know plenty of guys who just go, all right, I'm going to hit the hills this weekend and come out with a slob.
Hmm.
And that's just the reality of it, right? I mean, we spend a lot of time in the field, and we try to make sure we come out with that slob, but it doesn't always happen.
Right. Yep. Kind of just the name of the game. It's like I always say too, you can patter them, know what they're doing as much as you want, but they still have free will at the end of the day.
And then
So,
once that it's weird here, man. I mean, these deer, like compared to whitetail, they you
hmm.
can't pattern them. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll kind of hang out in the same area, but it seems like as soon as that velvet comes off, it's like
Hmm.
they're gone. They're just a
Hmm.
completely different animal. And it's like towards the tail end of the season, we get a little bit of rut action,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden you see a buck that you've never seen before.
Yep.
You're like, where did this guy come from? Did he just come out of the earth all of a sudden and there he is? Or did he come, 2 miles down the canyon all the way over this way? So it's a game, I'll tell you, man. It's cat and mouse
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah. Yep. Do you guys mainly just hunt? I know you said pig, whitetail, or I guess blacktail, mule deer, however you want to look at
Mm-hmm.
it. Do you guys do any turkey hunting or any other stuff?
We do a little bit of turkey hunting. I have
Hmm.
access to a property that has some turkeys on it. But just I mean, those birds are smart. I'm not gonna lie. They know not to come around during the turkey
Hmm.
season. I mean, we used to have a hunting lease, and of course, when it's not turkey season, you see them all the time. And
Hmm.
then you're out there during turkey season, but you don't have your bow or your shotgun, and you see them. And then
Hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm gonna bring the bow or the shotgun this time, and then you don't
Nothing.
see them, and you're like, what the heck? But yeah, I mean, we do a little bit of turkey hunting. I think this is the last. I think we got till the 19th, so maybe 2 more weeks, and
Yeah, we
then
have four
turkey
days
season's
here in
over.
Iowa left.
hmm But I did do
Need
some
to get
turkey
back out.
hunting about a week ago. I went out
Hmm.
to a buddy's ranch, and we literally pull up to this little knoll. We shut down
Hmm.
the side by side, and it makes like a little
Hmm.
noise when it
Oh
turns
yeah,
off. And then all of a sudden, the gobblers are going off, and
yeah.
we're sitting there calling to them. And there was a hen probably like 50 yards down the hill
Hmm.
from us, and we just heard her clucking away. And the gobbler was, gobbling, and she ends up going
Hmm.
down the road and just walking. But the tom never came in, so it's all part of it. We're pig hunting too, so we're trying to
Yeah,
kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, we
yeah.
do
We don't.
little
We
turkey.
don't. Yeah, yeah. We don't have any pigs here, thankfully.
Yeah,
Not a
they'd
not
probably
a
get
bad thing.
waxed.
Yeah.
All that corn, they did have a heyday over there.
Oh yeah. They would definitely tear some stuff up. But I mean, turkey season, like I said, we have 4 days left, and it's been quite the season, to be honest.
hmm
Been on top of birds time and time and time again, but just no toms or even jakes coming out
Really?
for that matter. They're getting hung up or just been under the roost. They've pitched the other way. I've had multiple times where I had a bunch of hens just hanging out with us for
hmm
whether it just me out on my own or Buddy and I. But there'd be hens just hanging out for like an hour plus, chirping and stuff. No one would come in, and it's just been wild.
It's crazy because people are like, oh, turkeys are dumb birds. I'll tell you what, they got some good eyes. That's for sure. They catch the slightest movement,
Oh
and they're
yeah,
like, they just, nope, I'm not getting any closer. You
right.
know.
Yeah, they're dumb, but they're pretty humbling too.
You do any fishing at all?
I do. It's been a little bit. So since I moved to central Iowa, I haven't fished as much as I'd like. But this year, I plan to get back into it. Also, I want to get back to bow fishing. Fishing used to be like the biggest part of my life. Like high school and after, every single day I would get out of school, we'd be
hmm
fishing somewhere, whether
Yeah,
it
for
be
sure.
flathead, channel cat, walleye, bass, crappie, you name it.
hmm Yeah.
But I have a little kayak and stuff, so I plan on getting that out this year. I have some buddies up here that fish.
hmm
I just been so busy since I got up here that I haven't taken the time to go learn new spots.
Yep. That is true. You got to find those spots.
Hmm.
But it is
But I
it is good
grew,
to go out.
yeah, I grew up like 10, 15 minutes from like the biggest lake in Iowa. So I always had spots and everything.
hmm
But
You ever fish the Mississippi?
I have not made it over there. I need to. I have buddies that'll go over there and catch some big catfish and stuff.
There's some
But
big catfish in that river. I tell you
mhm,
what. Like I said, my mom used to live there. I used to go and fish the Mississippi, man, and oof, there's some big
mhm.
fish in there. And I was
Oh
just,
yeah.
I was just young and dumb, throwing a night crawler out, boom, and just let it
Right.
sit, bottom fishing, and boom,
Hmm.
you get hooked up real quick. Or they have those, catch a lot of those drums. Is that what they call them? Those like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
almost look like carp. They're
Yeah.
silver, same thing.
Hmm.
hmm
Have you went bow fishing before?
I've never bow fished, but that does look pretty
That's a
fun.
blast.
Because
Yeah.
you're bow fishing for carp, right? That's all
Yep.
carp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Carp and then gar mainly.
Nice.
So at that lake that I referenced, there's a spillway below it. So there would always be carp you could just bank fish for and gar in there. And it's pretty fun.
Because there's some streams over there too, right? In Iowa, you can catch trout
There's a
too.
couple of them. I haven't made it out to any yet, but I think there's a couple streams and
hmm
some of the like city ponds and stuff. They're stocking with trout here and there. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I want to say in northern Iowa, there's maybe a stream or two or something.
Yeah. I mean, we're close to the ocean too, so we get the
Right.
chance to fish the ocean
Mm-hmm.
for rock cod, which are pretty good eating, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard of. Have you ever heard of ceviche?
Mm-mm.
It's basically raw fish. They
Yeah.
cut it all up, throw a bunch of vegetables in it, like jalapenos, onions,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and marinate it in like lemon juice, and then you eat it with like a
Mm-hmm.
tostada or whatever chip you want. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
it's so good,
That
so
sounds
good.
good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of that, what are your favorite recipes, I guess, for wild game? Wild game fish,
Oh,
whatever.
I am a cooking fool. I do love to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing the carnivore diet for a little while now,
Mm-hmm.
so mainly eating a lot of meat. So I'm having to
Mm-hmm.
get pretty creative, but I use the Traeger a lot. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty big. It's quick and easy. Like they say, set it and forget it, and it comes out
Mm-hmm.
super tender and juicy every time. Um, but I keep it pretty simple, man. Garlic salt, so garlic
Mm-hmm.
powder, salt, and coarse pepper.
Okay.
And then where I'm from, we call it Santa Maria style barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
So you're barbecuing over an open fire with red oak, um, and you throw any game meat over that, lights out, man.
There we
And
go.
it's same thing. All you got to do is keep it simple. It's garlic, salt, and
Mm-hmm.
coarse pepper, and then you throw a little baste on it, which is like Weston vegetable oil with some red
Mm-hmm.
wine vinegar, and just mix that up with some garlic cloves. Baste that
Mm-hmm.
thing up and just cook it. It's nice and juicy, and you can basically cook however you want it. Whether you want it medium rare or well done, whatever. But
Nice.
definitely do a lot of cooking. Definitely do a lot of cooking. Um, we try and sometimes shoot small pigs, like little
Mm-hmm.
50 pounders, and you just cut them straight down the middle,
Mm-hmm.
throw them on the Traeger. Oh my gosh!
Let
And
them. Yep.
they let them smoke. But I've used a lot of the like Provider Life rubs on those, and some of the
Mm-hmm.
Traeger rubs, and then um, with pork, you can use like the kinder seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Just sprinkle it all over it, and it's pretty good too. And then just
Mm-hmm.
spray it with some apple juice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
good, man.
Yeah,
So
that
now
sounds
you
good.
now you now you're making me hungry over here.
I was about to
I
say
haven't
the
even ate.
same. I'm gonna have to go eat now.
I haven't even ate dinner yet,
I
and it's
haven't
still pretty
either.
early over here. It's
Yeah.
only 5 o'clock, 5:10 right now
Yep.
over here.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good though.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I've dabbled with the smoker. I've made some brines and
Hmm.
all kinds of fun stuff. There's so many different things you can do with it. And people say that, just immediately like, ew, like venison or whatever. It's like there's so many things you can do with it. Like,
Oh, I do like a venison meatloaf for
mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving. That's what I bring over for when we do our Thanksgiving dinner.
There we go.
And the first year I brought it, I didn't tell anybody what it was. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people kind of
Always got to do
knew.
that.
People
Yeah.
kind of knew, like knowing me, like, oh, this guy, he
Mm-hmm.
hunts. He's gonna bring something crazy. I was like, oh, it's just a meatloaf. It's good. And then you put like barbecue sauce on it. I make my own barbecue
Mm-hmm.
sauce, some bacon strips over the meatloaf, and then it was gone. It was like one of the very first things that was completely gone. And I started asking people like, "Oh, what'd you think of that?" Like, dude, that was really good. And then you put a little bit of pepper jack cheese in the middle, so it's got
Mm-hmm.
some melted cheese in it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that was really good." I was like, "Yeah, that was a venison meatloaf." And then all of a sudden, everyone's like,
Like,
"
oh.
I don't know if I like
Yeah.
it anymore." And you're
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
"You just said it was good. How do you not like it now?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because it was some of like my younger cousins. One of them, she's a girl, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is super good." And then I told her what it was, and she just looked at me like, like I don't, it's not good anymore.
Right. Yeah, just getting in their own heads. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy for you guys over there. And
Hmm.
Callie, how's it with people versus hunters? Like, is it a big, even more sensitive thing there, or do they understand? Or probably depends
Uh,
on the area of California.
it depends on the area of California. I think because I meet a lot of people that don't hunt, obviously, and I think the biggest thing you got to do is just I wouldn't say get your point across, but help them understand like what you're doing and why you're
Educate.
doing it.
Hmm.
Um, I had a buddy. He's like, dude, I don't know how you. you plan to go out there and kill something. Like how does that work?
Mhm.
Like that's what your plan, that's your end goal, is to harvest an animal or kill an
Mhm.
animal. And it's like, yeah, but I'm also, that's what I'm eating throughout the year, you
Mhm.
know? I pretty much eat game meat at least once or twice a week minimum. Like 2 weeks ago, I was like, okay, I'm eating strictly game meat all week,
Mhm.
and that's what I did. I'd uh, whitetail, backstrap steaks,
Mhm.
venison ground, and then pork sausage. That's what I ate for the whole week. Um, I weight train quite a bit, so I always try and mess around with different things. Trying to see like, okay, how's my body going to react if I do this? Training this way, eating this way.
Mhm.
So I'm always experimenting with that. So yeah, game meat is pretty important to
Mhm.
my diet, at least.
And I think, like, if it's someone that's willing to listen, because there's a lot of people on both ends, for that matter, our side and the other side, that are
Hmm.
so stuck in their ways they're not going to listen regardless. But
Yep.
I think it's something that if you do have the window, that is pretty explainable, because
Hmm.
I mean, they'll say, "Oh, why don't you go to the store, grab meat or whatever?" It's like,
Hmm.
"Hey, have you looked at, factory farming too?" Like,
Hmm.
we're we know exactly where our food's coming from, and we know that it was ethically taken. We took it, we
Hmm.
processed it, we cooked it. So everywhere we possibly could have our hands in the mix from beginning to end, like, we did it, and
Hmm.
we were able to provide for ourselves and our family. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I love sharing,
hmm
the harvest with friends and
hmm
family. I have buddies that hit me up all the time. They'll see me, post something on Instagram, like,
hmm
dude, what is that? And I'm like, oh, I got a little bit if you want to try some, and I give them a little
hmm
teaser, a little taste, and then,
right.
a couple weeks later, like, hey, you got any more of that left? I'd like to have a little bit more. And then I have, some gym bros, that same thing. They're like, dude, what are you eating? I'm like, oh, this is what I eat, this and that.
hmm
And I've given them a few like 1 pound packages of ground
hmm
venison, and they
right.
just love it, dude. But it's funny you mentioned about going to the store. I saw a dude at the gym um, last week, and he had a mountain ops hat on. So I was like, "Hey,
hmm
you hunt?" He's like, "No, why?" I was like, "Oh, I just saw your hat. I was just wondering if you hunted." And he's like, "No." He's like, "It's the only 3X hat that they have for my big old head," or something like that. And
yeah.
he's like, "Oh, I'd want to hunt, but he's like, I don't really have to. I could just go buy it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
want to get in a debate
Yeah.
right there,
Right.
at the gym." This dude was like 6'5", apparently trained with Brock Lesnar back in the day. So I was like, yeah, no thanks. I'm not gonna get into this one.
Yeah, you're right. You could see ya.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got Aldi's right down the way. You can just go over there. You're good.
hmm Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Let's hear maybe a hunting fail story from you.
Ooh, I've kind of already listed one. I told you one earlier where I didn't, was like, okay, I'm gonna punch it into my calculator with my velocity is,
Yeah,
at
you
this
you did
box.
mention that one.
But I mean, I got plenty of them, man. So let's see, what's another fail story that I got here? Um, I'd say my reason for fail a lot of the time is I try and hunt too fast.
hmm
Because out here we're running gun, right? We're just running and gunning. And there's times, or I remember a time that was probably 2 years ago, and I had this buck bedded at 100 yards in this little open bowl, and I was just tucked in behind a little bush, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll sit this and wait this out. About an hour goes by. I was like, all right, maybe I should do something else. Look, I'm glassing through the bush. I still see him bedded.
hmm
And I was like, you know what? Maybe I can go down and around and come up the other side. That never works. Just be patient. Just wait it out. And I knew what those. It was just completely my fault. Those deer, they feed that way over that canyon,
hmm
and I could have sat there, but I was just being impatient, man. So I'd say sometimes I got to slow it down a little bit. Um, Hunting with my dad, I like to hunt fast, and he's not afraid to just, like the
hmm
old bull, sit in, wait it
Yeah.
out. And that's why our styles work pretty good.
hmm
It's like yin and yang. Sometimes I'm like, no, we got to go now, and he's like, no, we can just sit back and
Mhm.
wait, or vice versa.
Be
There's
each
times
other's
where
voice of reason.
there's times where you know, I'm telling him like we got to go, and he's like, oh, let's sit back, or vice versa, and it's
Mhm.
worked out both ways, and it's also not worked out both ways.
Mhm.
But like I said, man, it's all a game. You just got to outsmart an animal that's getting hunted
Mhm.
365 days out of the year. Um,
Mhm.
we have quite a bit of mountain lions where we're at, so those deer they stay
Mhm.
pretty slick.
Alert.
They
Mhm.
have to. Um, and we've seen quite a few. I'd say we've seen more mountain lions the last year than the year previous, and it seems like the population just keeps exploding,
Mhm.
man.
You guys
So,
run into him often on hunts, or?
yeah, I mean, we've last year I ran into probably three of them in the field, and
Hmm.
then my dad ran into about five or six of them in the field.
Oh, geez.
Um, yeah, he was after this one buck that he actually saw him early before the season. He's like, all right, that's the buck I want to shoot.
Mhm.
And so he hunted this area all season long. And we have a trail camera set up on this. We call it like a pinch point where all the crossings kind of come
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
And he went to go sit on the other side of that pinch point where these deer all kind of funnel into this one trail. And I was hunting somewhere else. And so I texted him like, "Hey, I'm on my way to come get you. It's already dark, so we got to go get him."
Mhm.
And he's walking out, and he comes to the truck, and he's like, "Oh, I think I saw three raccoons, but they were just like 10 yards off the trail because there was a bunch of deer on the hillside too, so he
Mhm.
could see all the eyeballs of the deer." And we get back to the truck, and we're driving home, and then the cell cam goes off, and it's a lion walking right by about 30 minutes after he went by. I was like, I don't think those
Oh.
were raccoons. Those are mountain lions, and there was three of them. It was like a mama lion and her
Mhm.
two cubs.
Cubs.
So, and then yeah, we were scouting a few other areas, and he went to go do some recon before the evening hunt, and he's coming down this canyon and jumps a mountain lion 10 yards in front of him, and he didn't have no weapon on him or anything. So he
Oof.
was that'll make you have the hair on the back of your neck stand up real
Right.
quick.
Yeah, I'd say so. Especially if you catch one off guard and make it
And
feel threatened.
they're sneaky, man. They are slick.
Mhm.
I mean, we've glassed a couple up. Uh,
Mhm.
a few years ago, my buddy shot one. We were on the top of this mountain, and we had another buddy who was hunting down the way, and he was glassing up towards us, and we were glassing
Mhm.
down. And my buddy ends up shooting this buck down in the canyon, and we go down there, go get the buck after he shot it. And then my buddy who was down at the bottom, he comes up to us. He's like, "You guys see that lion?" Like, no. He's like, "Oh, that lion was probably 300 yards to your guys' left." And he goes and he shows us the phone scope footage, and
Mhm.
this lion was hunting those deer that we were hunting,
Oh.
and it was a big cat too. So, I mean, they're out there. We have quite a few lion stories, and it's just, I mean,
Mhm.
they're becoming a problem out here, man.
Yeah.
Um, and then a few years ago, my cousin shot one down in the same canyon where this was
Mhm.
like 2 years later, but this was that this happened. And we're sitting there. It's last light. Shoots this buck. Fog's rolling in. We're on the coast, so the fog always rolls in.
Mhm. Yeah.
And my dad's on the top. We're like, all right, you can wait here. We'll go down and get him and come back up. And we start hearing like this screeching noise. And we're like, what the heck? And my dad's like, hurry up, get up here. And I just started working on this deer. I'm like, dude, I'm only 10 minutes into breaking this thing down. And he's sitting there, get up, come on, let's go. And we
Mhm.
finally, get the deer all out of there. Hour later, go up, and we're like on YouTube, lion sounds. And it was the same exact sound that this, whatever we were
Mhm.
hearing, which was a lion. It was like a locator call. So it was the lion was calling to another one or trying to find
Mhm.
another lion. So, I mean, they're definitely out here, man.
Are they
That's
protected there, or can you hunt them?
Yeah, you can't hunt them. So
Yeah,
um,
just a
you can't,
self-defense only, and that's probably even questionable.
even then, that's questionable. Um,
Mhm.
where we hunt, a guy actually shot a lion a few years ago, but it was self defense. He said the lion
Mhm.
was sneaking up on him, and he just put one right between the eyeballs, and he didn't get
Mhm.
in any repercussion or nothing. But
Mhm.
I mean, I would definitely not play with one of those
Yeah.
things.
Right.
I
No
mean,
doubt.
my life means a lot to me, so I don't know if I want to play the gamble game
Mhm.
like, oh, I can scare this thing off.
Mhm. Yeah, we have some of them here. They're not super common, but I feel like they're being seen more and more. We do have a lot of bobcats here, though.
Hmm.
But that's kind of, I mean, coyotes. We have coyotes, but
Hmm.
that's the main predators here.
Yeah,
Um,
we can't even shoot bobcats anymore.
Interesting.
Yep. So no more bobcats,
Interesting.
no mountain lions, and they're coming for the bears next. So it seems like they're trying to ban the bear hunting.
Mm,
One of the counties near me, no bear hunting. Uh,
mm. That's
they
on my
tried to,
bucket list.
yeah. I mean, I've been trying to get a bear for the last few years now. I have a buddy with some property that has a ton of bears out there,
Hmm.
but just being able to link up our schedules where I can go out
Hmm.
there and he can go out there has been a hassle for the last 3 years. But
Hmm.
I mean, there's plenty of bears, man.
Boutique said he'd fight a mountain lion. We know he would. You'd
Yeah, I believe it. I believe
Mountain
it.
lion would run away. I'm not gonna mess with Boutique. Pocket Scout sent me a DM. I will check it out later. Thanks, buddy. Um, you would also fight a bear. Yeah, Boutique would fight a bear too.
We had a bear charge us one time.
Ooh.
That was yeah. That's when we had our hunting lease. But like I said, some counties you can't shoot bears. So this is one of the
Hmm.
counties where we had our hunting lease. You can't shoot bears there, and we're walking this like single track road coming in, and I was with my dad. Always hunting with my dad. So come around the corner and there's a bear, and my dad runs at it, and this bear runs back at him and turns around and runs the other way in trees. And I was like, "What the heck?" And we're sitting there and we're watching this bear. He's just in the tree, and I'm looking at him through my binos, and he's got
Hmm.
like saliva coming from his
Hmm.
mouth. He's like opening his mouth, trying to basically size up our head, probably see if he can
Hmm.
fit it in his mouth. But that was pretty crazy too.
Did you guys have to go get the game cart to wheel your dad's balls out of there, or what?
That's starting what I'm beginning to think. So I was telling you the story about the mountain lions. We saw
Hmm.
them when we were heading out. So the next morning, he's like, "Let's go in there and kind of put our scent in there, so the
Hmm.
lion maybe will get out."
Hmm.
And we're walking the same trail that he was walking, and we're heading back to the truck. And I was like, "Dude, this thing's probably watching us." 5 seconds later, my dad's running and hissing. I was like,
Oh
"What
my
the heck?" And so I run around. I'm like, "What are you doing? Was it a buck or what was it?" He's like, "It was that lion. It was running." I was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, this guy just flirting with death." But yeah, I think we do need to get him
Sounds,
either
yeah,
a nut bra or a freaking game
right,
cart for those nuggets
right.
he's got.
It sounds like he's a fun guy to be around, nonetheless.
He's crazy. Old man Steve,
Probably
I'll
the
tell you
biggest
what.
threat in Iowa right now is disease. Definitely, we got hit pretty good this last year.
CWD,
Yep.
they just detected some in California.
Uh oh.
That just popped out yesterday. I saw something about that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, a lot of places. There are a lot of people saying they're finding dead deer in their ponds and streams and
oh
all of
no
that.
way. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's sad and it sucks, but it's like I guess as hunters we got to take our
Yeah.
measures to minimize it as much as we can. And I think California actually they just sent something in the mail with testing your meat to see if we're
Hmm.
CWD. So that's not a bad
Yeah.
idea to start getting on that program.
Hmm. Yeah. What are some of your bucket list hunts?
Bucket list hunt. I've been wanting to do. Well, I wanted to shoot a Coues deer. That was always like one of the hunts I really wanted to do, and I did that last year. So, um, pretty stoked on that one. Another hunt that I always wanted to do was um, Alaska, Kodiak Island for Sitka
Yes.
blacktail.
Hmm.
So like I said, when I first got out of college, my dad and I are like, all right, what out of state hunt or what hunt can we do, right? And I was telling him like, let's do this hunt, and he's like, there's grizzlies or brown bears over there, right? He's like, let's get some safer hunts under our belt first before we go and do something where we could potentially die, get attacked
Why
by a
your
bear.
dad will just trace the brown bear away.
I know, and he loves hunting with the stick and string. So he wants to, if he's going to do that, he wants to do
Hmm.
it with a bow. So I
Yeah,
mean, that kind of
same.
works out because they say when you send a shot over there, it's like a dinner bell for those bears. So
Hmm.
I'm not opposed to that one. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely want to do. They do like a cast and blast, they call it, in
Hmm.
on Kodiak Island, where you can do a little fishing for lingcod,
Hmm.
halibut, and then shoot ducks if you wanted to
Hmm.
during their season, and then yeah, go and do those blacktail, those Sitka blacktail. I think that would be awesome. I heard they're super good
Hmm.
eating too, so that really got me, is them being pretty
Right.
tasty. Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, elk is at the top of my list right now for ones that I'm
Hmm.
working towards. I'm chasing my first mule deer down in South Dakota this year. Hopefully, I can get lucky and make something
Nice.
happen.
That's where they have all
So,
those coulees, right? Where it's all flat, but the guy out of the coulees. Is that South Dakota?
um, I'm not sure. I'm probably gonna be hunting like the Missouri River Valley
Oh, nice.
for this. So up and down the Missouri River, and then working on points for elk in Wyoming, and
Hmm.
then probably try to do an over the counter between now and then in Colorado or something for elk.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I mean, bears on the list. I mean, a brown bear would be cool eventually, but
Those things are
I'm,
massive, man.
I'm trying to do everything I can with a bow too. I just feel like the thrill
Hmm.
is insane. Maybe I'm a little dumb, but I don't
No,
know. The adrenaline
that's
is
the way.
cool.
Yeah, that's yeah. The adrenaline is definitely worth it all, and then just the
Hmm.
success. It's tough, man. I mean, hunting with the bow. Like I said, I haven't shot a buck or a deer with my bow in
Hmm.
probably 12 years.
Hmm.
Um, but I've shot pigs with my bow.
Hmm.
But that's year round. A little more,
Hmm.
opportunity to do that. And I'd say their vision isn't as good. Their
Hmm.
hearing's all right. Their nose is good, obviously. But I mean, it seems like you can just sneak up right on those things, because they're so loud in themselves and they're always in thick stuff. So
Hmm.
it's like they just think you're another pig coming and
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
whoop.
there's a lot of them making noise too.
Hmm.
Red stag would be cool, and
Yeah,
then axis deer. Have you
Hawaii.
seen the whole? Yeah, I was gonna say the whole
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Hmm. The guy at my bow shop that's close to me, he's done that hunt,
Hmm.
the Hawaii axis deer. And then I had another buddy who did that for his honeymoon. Actually, him and his wife went and shot some
Hmm.
axis deer. So, and then we hunted in Arizona, and we met him there, and he brought some axis deer chili. Oh man, it
Hmm.
was so good, so good. So axis deer is another good tasting
Hmm.
animal too, for sure.
I am getting directly off of this and going and having dinner.
Yeah,
We
that's what I'm doing
talked
too.
about food so much.
I'm a foodie, man. I love cooking, so
Oh yeah, yeah. That's one thing I've thought about doing too is some recipes and cooking content.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm always cooking. Probably, I went to the grocery store yesterday, got a 3-pack of New York strips, so I got a couple of them
Hmm.
left. I'm gonna make them up and have a nice dinner.
There we go. Um, Kind of coming into the closing and everything, what I like to do is give you the floor where you can, say, I guess, whatever's on your mind, self plug, any shout outs, any of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys don't already, follow Meza Outdoors on. We got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're always uploading on all those platforms, whether it be reels, shorts, long form videos. We try and stay pretty consistent. If you want to just reach out, chat, talk, whatever, always here. Love hearing hunting stories. Love talking to people. Um, so don't be a stranger for sure. It's been good. Uh, we're hitting that Bow Disciples Challenge 2 coming up here in about 2 weeks. So that'll be hosted by the Bow Disciples team, obviously. James Visser, super good guy. If you don't follow him already, go ahead and follow his stuff. You want to talk about a dude who's lethal with a bow? That guy is nasty. And I've shot with him a few times. That guy could shoot too. That's
Hmm.
that's that's one thing I really want to do, is just be deadly accurate with the bow. It seems like what we were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
it's like golf. You got to practice. You got to stay on it. If you're not shooting consistently, you're gonna
Hmm.
fall off real quick. So, but yeah, and I'd like to, shout out to my boy over there, Mike with the boutique. If you guys need wraps, hit him up, man. He comes up with some fire designs. He did quite a few of
Absolutely.
them for me, and he did not disappoint at all.
They're not on the
So,
website yet, but glow in the dark
mhm.
veganless wraps are coming too.
Ooh, that's solid. That's solid. And yeah, if you guys don't already follow Veganless TV on YouTube and all the socials, plug them
There we
in right
go.
here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Got to get after it. It's been good, man. I see your content, your memes on
Oh
Instagram.
yeah.
Those are some
Yep.
funny stuff. I love it.
I really just kind of want to make fun hunting fun again, I guess I would say. And like, not that
Hmm.
it's ever not been fun, but there's so many people that don't hunt that maybe would like to try it but don't have anyone and stuff. So it's fun. Just I've noticed with all of the meme content, I get a lot of people like that
Hmm.
come in, and then you can kind of give guidance and like
Yeah,
all of
for
that.
sure.
And then all of the hunting guys, just love the content too. And it's fun.
Yeah,
Like there's enough hatred towards hunting out there that it's fun being able to laugh at our own expense or
yeah.
whatever else. So we officially turned a year a few weeks ago, I think, or end of last
Nice.
month.
Congrats,
So
man.
pretty
Heck yeah.
cool. It's came a
You got
long
what?
ways in a short time.
You got what? 4,000 followers on Instagram.
I
You got a good
think
following.
I think it's about 4,500.
Yeah, so you solid,
Yeah,
man.
it's
It's Instagram is
4,480.
tough to grow. Instagram is tough to grow, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sitting at like 775 for probably
Mm-hmm.
3 months now, and it just does not
Mm-hmm.
move. And I'm
I
posting all
I
the
found
time.
some I found some good stuff where I can hit the algorithm here and
Hmm.
there. I'll have really high peaks and then I'll have dips. Like I have a few viral meme videos right now. One of them I think has 2.4 million views.
Oh, nice.
That's semi recent, and then a couple others creeping towards a million views, and just trying to push content consistently. That's your
Yeah.
biggest animal if you're starting a channel too, is you just need to be consistent. It might not
Yep.
always show day to day. You're going to have bad days, you're going to have bad months, you're going to have bad quarters for that matter.
Hmm.
But when it catches, it'll catch, and there'll be compounding growth.
The snowball effect, baby. The
Yeah,
snowball
like
effect.
I had like a mini blow up, I don't know, it was last summer into hunting season maybe. And then beginning of the year was just slow as shit. And then the last month I've been blowing up again. Hit I think I've gained, let's see. Um, I've gained 500 follows in the last month on
Hmm.
Instagram. So
Dang,
it
that's
definitely
solid.
compounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely compounds.
Instagram's tough. Instagram's tough. I'd say that's the one that I've struggled the most with
Mhm.
growing is my Instagram. YouTube,
TikTok's hit or miss with my brand.
TikTok, yeah, same thing. I'm at probably like 1,100 followers on
Mhm.
TikTok, and it's just kind of just floating there. But
Yeah, I
I
think
do
I'm at
post.
2,000. I'll
Mhm.
hit spikes and then it'll drop off and I'll get shadow banned all the time. And
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So I
um,
posted a video about a month ago or so,
mhm.
and I got a community guidelines, and ever since then, it seems like the views have been just kind of dwindling. Instead of hitting like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 views, it's like 500, 600,
200, 300, 200,
200.
300. Yeah, I'll
Sometimes.
notice I'll have like 10,000, 5,000, 2 views, 20 views, 30 views. It's like,
Yeah,
well, there's the shadow ban.
yeah.
I just have to keep posting. It'll break through it.
Hmm. Yeah, well, your content's good, man. I appreciate the stuff that you post,
Thank you.
especially for hunters.
Likewise.
And I think the biggest thing you're saying is making it fun, man. There's a
Hmm.
lot of guys who take it pretty serious. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with taking it serious,
No, not at all.
but there's guys out there that they go hunting to enjoy themselves
Hmm.
outside of just killing an animal, right? They go out there to have some fun,
Hmm.
get away with their buddies, and just spend some time in nature. So.
And I think watching hunting TV shows and some of the YouTubes and stuff, it sets such high expectations and standards for
Hmm.
everything that especially new people and whatnot think that you just go out there and then you smack a 200-inch deer or something, like they just think that it's easy, easy, easy.
Hmm.
And I think you have to show the fails and the fun and all that
Yep,
too,
for sure. Hmm. I mean, even my biggest deer is actually the smallest species deer that I've. My Coues deer is the
Hmm.
biggest like deer I've shot. If you're looking per scale by the species,
Trophy wise. Yeah.
yeah, trophy wise. And when I came up to that thing, man, it was like a basket. It was like this.
Hmm.
I was just like, oh dang, he looked pretty big in the scope, but when you get up to him, they're
Ground
I would say
shrinkage.
it's ground shrinkage,
Yeah.
man. Some ground shrinkage, but you know, uh, to hit book, it's like 100 inches, and he scored 92. So I mean, he was
Hmm.
pretty close.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's crazy how that all works, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as we come towards the end of it and everything, I always like to say, so this was live streamed on all of our platforms. It'll continue living in video format on our YouTube, but it will also go into audio format and hit podcast land. So Spotify, Apple, Google, the works. So if you're on those podcast platforms, if you can leave a 5-star review, that'd be awesome to help boost us into the algorithm more and everything. But until then, thank you so much for joining. Be sure to follow Meza Outdoors. Be sure to follow Veganless. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you.